This is Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com, and I'm going to detail all the Easter eggs and references I found in Scoob. If you haven't seen Scoob yet, I would suggest not watching this video, as it contains a lot of spoilers. Within the first 30 seconds of the movie, we start to see Easter eggs and references. At this point, you see Ruby's subs, a nod to Joe Ruby, one of the creators of Scooby-Doo. Scooby also has a sister named Ruby. We also see an animated version of Harry Perry roller skating while playing a guitar. Harry Perry is a musician who is known for playing a guitar while skating at the Venice Beach Boardwalk. Next we see Silverman, who is a known Venice Beach street performer. This is also most likely a nod to Fred Silverman, executive in charge of children's programming for the CBS network, who brought Scooby-Doo to CBS in 1969. There is a clown wearing a jester hat image on the bottom of several of the skateboards. I feel like I've seen it before, but I can't place it. Alexander's Great Gyros is a nod to Alexander the Great, an ancient Macedonian ruler who was a great military general. He created a vast empire. The gyro sign also says since 1969, which is the year Scooby-Doo was created. Along the boardwalk is an eatery called Burritos, which I believe to be a nod to Willie Ito. Willie Ito was a character designer and artist for many of Hanna-Barbera's shows, including Hong Kong Phooey, The Perils of Penelope Pitstop, The Richie Rich Scooby-Doo Show, Wacky Races, and more. Ruby's subs reappears, and this time you can see a banner on it that says, "Every sub comes with free pickle spears." This is a nod to Ken Spears, co-creator of Scooby-Doo, alongside Joe Ruby. It's nice to see that they put Ruby and Spears together, as they were a team. Squidly Diddly, another Hanna-Barbera character, is painted on the wall in the background close to Ruby's subs. We see Shaggy in front of an eatery, and it happens to be called Casey's Creations. Casey Kasem was the original voice of Shaggy, so it was very appropriate that they placed him here. They also seem to have Shaggy mourning Casey, as Shaggy is sad and listening to music about being alone, and at one point, Shaggy seems to be looking at the words Casey's Creations with a very sad look on his face. Shaggy is technically one of Casey's creations, as he brought the character to life with his voice. Casey, unfortunately, ended up being alone at the end of his life. Scooby snacks are, of course, a staple of Scooby's diet, and they show up in the movie pretty early. The name brand on the Scooby Snacks box is Korinsky's, a nod to Michael Korinsky, the Scoob production designer. He also voiced Samuel Colton in the movie. On Shaggy's house, you can see the cutouts in the window of the zombie from the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode Which Witch is Which, and the mummy from the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode Scooby-Doo and a Mummy Too. The tombstones in the front yard might also be references, but they are difficult to read. The soccer ball in Shaggy's front yard could possibly be a reference to Jose Joaquin Martinez Valdez, a soccer player that plays for Morelia, a city in Mexico. His nickname is Shaggy, as he resembles the Scooby-Doo character Shaggy. Shaggy's room is full of Easter eggs. It took a while to spot them all. First off, we have the Impossibles poster on his wall. The Impossibles was another show by Hanna-Barbera that featured Coil Man, Fluid Man, and Multi-Man, a trio of crime fighters who play as a band. The puppet against the wall is a reference to Slappy the Dummy from Goosebumps. This could also be a nod to the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode, What a Night for a Night, as Shaggy says,
"Maybe my ventriloquism bit can get us out of this jam. If I can throw my voice to make it sound like it's coming from the room, he might leave."
The Blue Falcon and Dynamite Funko Pop figures show up on Shaggy's dresser. Perhaps this is a sign that the Funko movie announced in January 2019 by Warner Brothers is actually going to happen. There is a picture of David Letterman with the Blue Falcon on Shaggy's wall. On the floor of Shaggy's room, we see several comic books, including Snagglepuss, Secret Squirrel, and the Banana Splits, all shows produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions. There is a Frankenstein Jr. book on top of the chest that has Shaggy's real name, Norville. While Shaggy and Scooby are trick-or-treating, you see 3 kids from the back dressed as the Impossibles, and later you can see them from the front. There is also a kid in a monkey or ape costume, which could be a nod to the Ape Man from the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode, Never Ape and Ape Man. There is, of course, a haunted house that shows up in the movie. It wouldn't be Scooby if there wasn't a haunted house, castle, or museum. The address of the haunted house is 1313. 1313 signifies new beginnings. The numbers 1 and 3 are repeated twice, amplifying their energy by 2. The movie revolves around the friendship between two best friends, Scooby and Shaggy. This may also be a reference to 1313 Mockingbird Lane, the Munsters' address. A couple of bullies show up to steal Shaggy and Scooby's candy, which they eventually throw into the haunted house, causing the gang to go in after it. The bullies are wearing face paint similar to the Joker or Insane Clown Posse, or even possibly one of the clowns from a previous Scooby series. One of the bullies has the skull from the intro of Scooby-Doo Where Are You on his shirt. Before they enter the haunted house, the rest of the gang show up in costumes. Fred, I believe, is the Black Knight without the headpiece. Daphne is Wonder Woman, and Velma is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, though Shaggy asks her if she is Harry Potter. Once in the haunted house, Shaggy refers to Velma as the
girl dressed like Judge Judy?
Inside the haunted house, there are pictures of Fred and Wilma Flintstone on either side of the chair on the right. There are a bunch of pictures on the wall in the back of the room and going up the steps. I haven't been able to figure out if they are references to anything. I think the vase is in the back of the room because Scooby and Shaggy and the gang have hidden in many vases, including one that they all hide in together towards the end of this movie. I thought it was kind of funny that they named the laptop brand Banana instead of Apple. You can see this in the room they found in the haunted house that Shaggy referred to as
the world's smallest Walmart.
There were two officers that were taking pictures. The female officer said, "Bag it all up, Frank," which I think is a nod to Frank Welker, who was the original voice of Fred. According to BehindTheVoiceActors.com, their names are Officer North and Officer Casey, named for Heather North and Casey Kasem. The intro is a close recreation of the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You intro. It's not exact, but it does feature the haunted house with the bats flying out of it, the ghost of Elias Kingston, Space Kook, both skulls, the ghost of Captain Cutler, the Phantom, Charlie the Robot, the Black Knight, and the gang reading the book in their iconic pose. As soon as the intro ends, we see the Mystery Machine for the first time parked in front of the R&S coffee shop, another nod to Joe Ruby and Ken Spears. It finally has a license plate, which is amazing. The license plate reads Scooby Snack, which is the perfect license plate for the Mystery Machine. The stickers on the plate have HB on the left side and 69 on the right side, a tribute to Hanna-Barbera and the year Scooby first aired. The street is lined with Easter eggs and references. Takamoto Bowl is the bowling alley, which gives nod to Iwo Takamoto, the character designer of Scooby-Doo, as well as the Jetsons' dog Astro and Penelope Pitstop. We see Hannah's Barber Shop, a nod to William Hanna, Barber's Pizza, a nod to Joseph Barbera, and Carlton Way, a nod to Carlton Zapp, Hanna and Barbera's personal assistant. There is also a billboard referencing Penelope Pitstop, another Hanna-Barbera character. Outside of Takamoto Bowl, Scooby and Shaggy are attacked by little robots. Right after they are beamed up into the Blue Falcon's ship, you can see it says Top Cat graffitied on the wall. Top Cat was another Hanna-Barbera show that ran from September 27, 1961 to April 18, 1962. After Shaggy and Scooby meet Blue Falcon, Dynamite, and Dee Dee Skies in the ship, Blue Falcon says, "To the Falcon Nest!" This could be a reference to Batman saying, "To the Batmobile!" While Fred, Daphne, and Velma were searching for Scooby at Takamoto Bowl, they spoke with Judy Takamoto, the girl who works there, who is possibly named after Judy Jetson and Iwo Takamoto. When Judy describes that Scooby and Shaggy were taken, she says that a
blue light came down from the sky and beamed them up.
This is a reference to Star Trek. Outside, we get to see the front of Takamoto Bowl. Through the window, you can see a game called Activate. It is a reference to the Wonder Twins, the brother and sister duo who appeared in the all-new Super Friends Hour. The game shows them touching hands like they would do to activate their powers. We also see that Peebles' pet store is right next to Takamoto Bowl. Peebles is a Hanna-Barbera character that owns a pet store that Magilla Gorilla lives in. He was always trying to get rid of Magilla. Mr. Peebles and Magilla Gorilla guest starred in the Scooby-Doo and Guess Who episode, Peebles' Pet Shop of Terrible Terrors. If you look closely in the background in the top right corner, there is a Cogswell Cogs billboard. Cogswell Cogs is a manufacturing company featured on The Jetsons, another show produced by Hanna-Barbera. Michael Korinsky's name comes up a second time on the DNA analysis system that Velma was using in the Mystery Machine. We learned a bit about Dick Dastardly when Velma was doing research on him. His bio sheet shows his ID number as 867-53091. This is a reference to Tommy Two-Tone's song of the same name, with an extra 1 at the end. There is also a number listed under his picture, 061318CB. I thought maybe it was a date, but I believe it is the hex color for black, since Dick Dastardly wears black, and the CB may stand for Cervoni and Brandt. Tony Cervoni produced Scoob, and Spike Brandt has been his writing animation production partner for years. Do any of the dates and case numbers on the criminal report mean anything? I wasn't able to find any date matches, so if anyone can figure it out, let me know in the comments. Velma finds a police report from March 27, 2020, showing that Dick Dastardly was looting historical artifacts in Pachu Picchu, Peru. Michu Pachu is the name of a song in the show Emperor's New School. While the song played in the episode, they did a Scooby-Doo inspired chase scene. I believe that is what they were referencing here, as Pachu Picchu is not an actual city in Peru. The name of the person requesting the information on the report is Pedro Sanchez. Cruz Delgado Sanchez and Pedro Delgado Cavilla authored a book called Hanna-Barbera, La Animación en Serie, which came out in May 1, 2014. It is possible the name is a reference to them. The report also lists an address as 5555 Waka Waka Way. I believe this is a reference to the Pac-Man TV series that was produced by Hanna-Barbera from 1982 to 1983. The name Huckleberry shows up on the Canine Global Kennel Club website, referring to the dog as a light blue-gray hound. In the description of the Kennel Club on that same page, the name Boom Burapun is mentioned. Boom Burapun was the visual development artist on Scoob and on Smallfoot in 2018. He is currently the visual development artist at Netflix Animation, which is why it is kind of funny that Velma mentions Dick Dastardly has been stealing Netflix. A picture of Muttley is first seen in Dick Dastardly's workshop, where he's getting his robots ready to take out the Blue Falcon and Shaggy so he can use Scooby for his plan. As Fred, Daphne, and Velma head out to find Scooby and Shaggy, we see quite a few Easter eggs. We see a billboard with Squiddly Diddly. They pass through an intersection which has Silverman's gas station at the corner of North Street and Eisenberg. Silverman's is another nod to Fred Silverman. Heather North was the second person to voice Daphne. Jerry Eisenberg is a writer, storyboard artist, and designer for a number of Scooby-Doo direct-to-video films. They come upon Funland, which is a nod to the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode, Foul Play in Funland. While Dick Dastardly and Dee Dee Skies are shooting at each other, you see many similar little robots that seem to be clones of each other and red and blue lasers, similar to that which you would see in Star Wars Clone Wars. As Dick Dastardly is chasing Scooby and Shaggy through Funland, he says to Shaggy, which is a reference to the movie Home Alone.
Christmas, you filthy animal.
And he continues to say, dog too, which could be a reference to the Wizard of Oz. The arcade is also full of Easter eggs. When Shaggy and Scooby first close the doors, you can see the Hex Girls poster to the right, which lists the Impossibles, Banana Splits, Jabberjaw, the Neptunes, Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kids. Above that poster, there's a clock with no hands. I'm not sure if that has any significance. To the left is a Hong Kong Phooey game called Phooey Fighter. A Banana Splits poster is above the game. Shaggy and Scooby use some of the arcade games to barricade the door. This is when we see Space Stars and Laugh Olympians arcade games. Space Stars is a Hanna-Barbera show that came out September 12, 1981. Laugh Olympics is another Hanna-Barbera series that features Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, Blue Falcon, Dynomutt, Dick Dastardly, Muttley, and many other characters. Other things we see are the Penelope Pit Stop game, Wacky Races game, the full Banana Splits poster, the Impossibles game, Hex Girls game, and the Activate game, which we first saw in Takamoto Bowl. A Jabberjaw and the Neptunes poster shows up on the wall, and there is a banana peel on the ground, which might be a reference to the banana splits. If it's not a reference to that, the banana peel is an odd thing to have on the floor of an arcade. One of the games seems to change as we continue through the movie. The Laugh Olympians game turns into the Frankenstein Jr. game. Then we see the C-Lab Defender game, which I think is a reference to C-Lab 2020, a Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 70s. Inside the House of Mirrors, Scooby seems to change colors, from orange to blue to pink to green to purple, and then back to brown. I think this is a nod to Funko, as they created Scooby Funko Pops in all of those colors. The Ferris wheel in Funland is broken off its stand by one of Blue Falcon's F-bombs, and it starts to roll, destroying everything in its path until it hits the roller coaster and comes to a stop. It is possible that this is a nod to the Steven Spielberg movie 1941, where a Ferris wheel is hit by gunfire from a sub and it rolls down the pier and into the ocean. As Fred, Daphne, and Velma are driving through the desert, we see a billboard for Jellystone National Park. You can also see billboards for Cogswell Cogs. There are some other billboards I was not able to make out.
Okay, guys, let me do the talking. I've seen cops at least 6 times, so I know exactly what to say.
When they get stopped by the police officer, the officer's name is Officer Jaffe. Nicole Jaffe was the original voice of Velma. Dick Dastardly finally learns the third skull is on Messick Mountain, named for Don Messick, the original voice of Scooby-Doo and Muttley. His voice track was used for Muttley and the Space Kook in Scoob. Velma hacks into Dynamite to try to find out where Scooby and Shaggy are. When she does, Dynamite goes a little crazy trying to fight it, and he hits his head on the ceiling, making the El Kabong sound. The coordinates on Dick Dastardly's board take you to the following places. Boca Raton, Florida, where there is a place called Boo Boo Sketch, as well as an auction house that sells art, including Scooby cells and prints. Randy's Steakhouse in Frisco, Texas. A field in the Middle East between Iran and Iraq. And the National Weather Service headquarters in Providence, Rhode Island. The pigeon shown in the shrine to Muttley is Yankee Doodle Pigeon, a carrier pigeon on the show Dastardly and Muttley in their flying machines. The shrine also has the pilot hat Muttley wore during wacky races. A poster above the shrine shows Dick Dastardly's original outfit. When they get to Messick Mountain, pterodactyls show up. They look almost exactly like the pterodactyls from Johnny Quest. Captain Caveman calls the last skull Slag Hoople. This is a reference to the Flintstones' Pearl Slag Hoople, Wilma's mother. The skull is wearing flowers that are the same color pink as her dress. A caveman blows into a turtle's shell like a blowhorn, causing it to make a horn sound like in the Flintstones. When Shaggy tries to explain to Fred where Scooby is, he says, "We're on a break." This is a reference to the show Friends. Captain Caveman insists that Blue Falcon and Scooby have to fight him. The scene is set up like the Gladiator, and he says,
Are you not entertained?
Dee Dee Skies shows up with a gladiator stick similar to the ones used in American Gladiators. She uses it to try to fight Captain Caveman. Fred says,
Because of you, Scooby-Doo has a first-class ticket to the dog apocalypse.
I believe this is a reference to the comic Scooby Apocalypse. Shaggy
What do you
says,
say we get out of Middle-earth? Copyright infringement.
this is a reference to Middle-earth, a fictional setting in The Lord of the Rings. Blue Falcon says copyright infringement. Dick Dastardly said, I've waited for this very moment, before the 3 skulls start to glow and then disappear. The 3 skulls glowing green could be a nod to the Phantom movie. Dick Dastardly says,
And the slipper fits.
a reference to Cinderella. It is possible the golden bowl mixed in with the treasure is modeled after Temuka, the ghost bowl, from a bum steer for Scooby-Doo, from the Scooby-Doo show. After the mystery machine gets destroyed, Fred says,
You shall be avenged.
this is a nod to Galaxy Quest and the Avengers.
Shall be avenged.
Fred using the mystery machine hubcap as a shield is a reference to Captain America. Fred says,
Never mess with another man's vehicle.
this could be a nod to Pulp Fiction. You'll have to look up the clip for yourself, as it is not family friendly. The gang opens a business at the end, called Mystery Inc., Supernatural Mystery Solvers. This is definitely a reference to the Scooby-Doo Supernatural crossover, Scooby Natural. When Blue Falcon starts DJing, you see a crystal ball on a table with a red tablecloth. This could be a reference to either the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode, A Gaggle of Galloping Ghosts, or a nod to the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The Q on Velma's laptop is the same Q in the Johnny Quest logo. Velma's computer files are named Old Man Jenkins, Fred's Ascot, and Franken files. It is kind of funny that she is also drinking out of a cup that looks like it came from a movie theater. Jamie Rivera mentions the ghost of an old sea captain, which is most likely a reference to the ghost of Captain Cutler.
Residents report seeing a phantom tuna trawler and the ghost of an old sea captain.
The credits had a bunch of Easter eggs, including Adamant, Jabberjaw, Grape Ape, a Jinkies sign, Quest Labs sign, a billboard for Velma because she keeps losing her glasses, a billboard for Daphne about hair, another billboard with Adam Ant, a Zoinks billboard, Falcon Force's new recruits, Quest Labs with plans for Rosie from the Jetsons, the original Dick Dastardly outfit, Frankenstein Jr., and wacky races. That's all the Easter eggs and references I found in the Scoob movie. Please like my video, subscribe to my channel, and post a comment below if you think I forgot anything.